Hi, this is William, and this is Unnatural Investigations, the last video before launch in August the 1st. We pushed the delay a little bit due to some of the feedback we received from the demo. The main reason was we had some things in the works, and we picked up on some new things from the feedback from the demo and some of our testers that we felt we could implement in a few months, opposed to releasing it and then going back and changing it later, which we felt would have a negative effect on people who started early access with us, having the game change so dramatically. So that's why we delayed it. So some of the key changes were the networking side of things, along with the character controller, were two big things. One thing that we really wanted to get in and that we finished was the controls. You can keybind nearly all the controls. So for those who play it in different, keys or whatnot, for the most part, you can change most of them to fit your needs. So that's in there. All the audio and graphical settings are. We did. Funny enough, if you're familiar with Unity, they have three render pipelines. They have the universal, the standard, and the high definition. Our original version, we were using the high definition. However, with high definition, you add a bit of complexity, not only with coding but also with the pretty much art pipeline, things that you require and things you don't. We, after doing all of our testing and creating the first version, realized that we weren't even utilizing like half or over half of the features of HDRP, yet we were taking hits from a lot of the stuff because we weren't utilizing it. So we decided to go back to standard right now, and it made a dramatic amount of difference in terms of fidelity and frames per second. So we're sticking with that for now. Still looks great, but that was one of the big changes we wanted to get out there as well. So on to the character selection, a little bit different, more static. Didn't need animated characters. Looked cool, but didn't add anything to it. You got your home, your servers. Hosting is a little bit easier. You can make a private room, name your room, all the things you did before, but it's much smoother in terms of the networking side of things. And changed a little bit. We redid all the levels. We didn't have to, but we redid them, especially coming from HDRP down to standard. Did that for a few other reasons too with the new systems, which we'll talk to in a second. But there are 6, and they're all themed. So 151, 223 have the same foliage. They're a little bit darker, more trees, lots of grass, things like that. The 115 is actually in the daylight. Felt that you didn't always have to be in the dark to be creepy and things like that. 371, another desert level, the largest that we have. 13 and 437, still kind of a forest kind of theme, but different foliage, and theme different in terms of larger building. This has the hospital, but it also has a cave network under it. And this one has a psychiatric ward with the hospital and a small cave. Now, big changes for the levels, besides what they look like, is there's no longer small, medium, or large kind of hard, easy, medium, hard kind of theme. Every level could potentially be hard, could be easy. It all depends on what randomness you get from when you pick the level. When you join it, everything kind of decides there. Which we also did a lot of work on that side of things previously, just for reference. When you load into a level, which I'll load in now, you would see a dramatic spike in frames, and that was because everything was loading in. It was determining what creatures and all this stuff, and it was essentially spawning them in, getting them ready. Well, now all the creatures that could be in there are pooled and they're in there already, and we just pull from them and place them, so there's a dramatic less amount of frames that kills it. So this is the lobby kind of area where you're in your room. You can start it. However, once you start it, nobody can join it. And you get your 4 players. If it's private, they have their clue and all that stuff, their key, and they'll come in. You just hit start. Now I'm going to go through an entire level. So the video might be slightly longer than normal, but you'll see the experience that you'd experience if you got it. Alright, so you see a wolf over there. A few things to call out is every level now has area of enemies, essentially, depending on the area that you're in, the type of map. Like this area has more wildlife, so in this area you'll be dealing with the wildlife, opposed to some areas you deal with demons, some other things. This area has a lot of wildlife, and they're all static in terms, which means for us that once you kill them, they're not going to come back. So I usually like to go around, kill them all, because they will come get you in groups if you don't. So another thing to notice as well is once I'm killing them, they all have their ragdolls. Before we were using animation death, that was mostly due to getting them in there and make sure they all died. Adding ragdolls takes a little bit more effort, because you have to pretty much put them in each bone, and creatures like this aren't. The humanoid creatures are a little bit easier in Unity to ragdoll. It kind of automatically does it, where creatures, which we have a bunch of different kind, creatures and such, you gotta go in and do a little bit manual work to make sure that their physics all align. So we had to do that, but I wanted all the enemies to have the ragdoll. I think that the deaths look a lot better. Some of them can be kind of funny too, but yeah. Alright, so while I'm over here, let's see, oh, there's another animal there. One thing you'll notice is he's running away. That's another thing as well. Some of the enemies will flee if you hurt them enough. Didn't do that in the original version, but they will now. But what you'll notice here is the summoning platform. Quick call out, in one of the feedbacks that we did receive was, and we see this kind of early in development, pretty much right before the demo was coming out, is how you summon the boss. How potentially, I mean, you could just summon anything and eventually you'd get the boss, because if you did it wrong, you just get the meaner version of the boss, which means that you didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to look for clues, pretty much you could avoid the main game. So to combat that, you have a summoning thing, and you don't summon it from the vehicle, and now you have to actually find relics, which you have none. So you can't even summon the boss until you find the relics. And each creature, which has its code here, and this is one of the features that will continue to expand. Right now it's static in terms it's the same one for a creature, but we're going to make it random later. But if you find all the relics and you put them in wrong, you won't get the wrong creature. I mean, you won't get a super version of the wrong creature. You'll get the golem monster, which if you get that twice, then you lose the level. That means the world has been taken over. So no more of going straight to the summoning table and killing said boss, all that good stuff. Alright, so we got the classes here, got the ammo and traps. All that's pretty much the same. The UI layout may have changed, but classes aren't. So you pick your class at the bottom left, see a little icon there, lock. So I'm the engineer. If you hit P, you'll pull up small little progress data, which is how many crystals you have, how many relics, and how many clues. There were 5 relics which tie into the summoning, so you need to find the relics before you can summon. Alright, some doors are locked, some aren't. Most all the chests are, and they have scraps, things you can use to make traps. I'm not going to pull up any of that now. but you'll see me when I unlock a door. All the lock, it's the same. You'll also find notes and things around. They are lore based and don't affect the game, but being that we got rid of the timer for the boss, you can go around and do more exploring. Now the other big change is the actions. We used to use a QTE system, quick time events, and we got mixed opinions on that. And so we're going back to a timer based system based on your level, the tool you're using, things like that. It's a little less, it's obviously hands off, which some people won't like. But in terms of comparison, most people didn't like it, the quick time events. So for now, we'll do the timer thing. We may bring back some quick time events for specific things, but for now it's a timer. So most of all the tasks you do is a timer, and you'll sit there and depending on your level and all that good stuff, it'll go up. However, to combat, working on a class and building levels up, there are demonic awarenesses per level. There's a relic there, and there's the corpse. Demonic awareness is something that is affected by everything you do for your class. Plus side is it only built up once. So if for some reason I was doing the doors and it got to full, it's static across the board. So once it fills up, you don't have to worry about it triggering again. But once it does trigger, depending on what you did. So for instance, the corpse will draw in a bunch of wild animals based on the blood and the corpse and things like that. So if you do a crappy job of searching the corpse, your demonic awareness will go up, and you'll have to deal with those wolves, you and your team. The locking things, similar effect. A lot of wild animals hear that sound and they'll come get you. The ghosts will summon a bunch of the wraiths. They're pretty strong, so they'll attack you. And then the demonic one, again, will a bunch of demons and things like that. So this one's getting pretty close. It might trigger it, and then you'll see a bombardment of animals, which, yes, it did. I'm going to get out of here because they are coming. I know this because I've tested this level quite a few times. And there they come. Bears are pretty tough. Relatively fast. Wolves. Yeah, they're all here. And you can see a whole pack of wolves. And boom. Good view of the death camera now. Kind of see what happens. Wolves are dispersing. They will be back. There they come. And something to call out too, it's a little smoke from their feet when they're running. Besides having a little particle effect on some of the terrain they're on, they also have footprints or footstep sounds. So you can't hear that. I have the sound turned off for that part of it, so you can just hear me talking without the shooting and things. But a lot of feedback too. People wanted, wanted to see more of or hear the footsteps. Like it'd be cool. They were like, oh, it'd be cool if you could hear them, walking around the woods, whatever. We were planning on adding that anyways. It was already in the mix, but we got it in there. So most of the enemies, you'll hear them walking around, and depending on where they're walking, if they're on grass or on dirt, whatever, they'll have a different sound. Alright, let me finish this corpse here. Another thing too that we got in is physics base for the doors. Originally they would just go through the doors, like they weren't even there, invisible. That was just because we hadn't programmed in the actual collisions and things. So now enemies run near a door or whatever, whether you're in there, whether you're out there, they will bust through it and the door will explode into physics pieces, so you can see those fly around. Not really a system effector, but pretty good looking. And you'll notice every tool has a little tool tip to help people. So, you don't have to look at your journal or anything. You can, as you're researching the body or the crystals and things like that, you can pretty much see what you need to do. And higher levels will open up access to tools that will make your search quicker. Maybe some of them might make it demonic awareness more, but it'll be a quicker, so you won't be watching that at all times. It's kind of an incentive for people to build up their classes so they don't have to wait so long, because I believe it's set to about 60 seconds, some of them. And they scale up every 5 levels, up to 4 different tools you'll have to make your job easier, and we'll continue to expand those. Might be certain corpses that you need to use a certain tool on that you wouldn't otherwise use a tool on. Again, all the things that we hope to get more feedback during the early access phase, which again is going to come out August 1st, so pretty soon. We do expect bugs, different people's play setups, but we think, at being that we're going early access and we have all the systems in place, that it's only right that we don't delay it any further. That way we can iron out all the bugs at an early stage instead of continue to build further. And sorry, this one's taking longer than normal, but this is a skill check as well. I'm only level 10, so the skill check of me getting it on the first or second one is lower. If I was a level 20, which is the max right now, probably would have got it earlier. Alright, tainted blood. So same concept before though. You got to get all the clues. The corpse gives you one. Oh, look at the ghost now. Ghosts changed a bit. What they are now is, instead of having a glowing silhouette of a person, you'll find these orbs. There's 4 of them. Only one of them's, I guess you'd say, a friendly ghost. Getting attacked by another wolf. We did add that in there so that if you do get attacked, that it will stop your progress. But that's like a good and bad thing, because it doesn't change your demonic awareness, which wouldn't be bad if I am able to get the ghost on the first one, which I did. So that was just luck. Alright. If you didn't get the ghost, it would have been one of the wraiths. Alright, the last part of the mission is the occult. You are still collecting crystals, but a little bit different now. They're in the ground. There's quite a bit more, and there's 3 different types. You got your weak ones, which are more abundant, but they don't give a big enough charge. And just for reference, that's the crystal now. They don't give a big enough charge, but the reason we went for a system like this is there's an abundance of those crystals. So in theory, you could find them all, and they're a little bit easier to find because they're larger. But you really want to get the red and the small white ones. While I'm killing them too, another thing to notice is there is no more melee. We have it in the back end, but due to a lot of different setbacks with that, we took that out, added this essential, like, Uzi, Tommy gun as they call it in one of the asset things. But we added this. It's a weaker, faster shooting hand pistol. Took out anything that was involved in melee, just because it, like I said, it was pretty janky when it comes to animations, the hit effects. It did bring an extra depth into the game because it was forcing you to move closer to the enemy, but in the long term it hurt the gameplay more than help it. So that is not in there. It's in this back end. If we decide later we want to work on it more and add it back in, then we can. But as of now, your 4 weapons was your pistol, your SMG, your Uzi here, and the shotgun. Shotgun's really powerful, but pretty slow. A relic. I think I have all the relics now. Let's see. Nope, one more. Another thing you'll notice, and not as much in this level, but when you go into dark areas, it's a book. It'll get even darker when you go in a cave or something. Before, it was the area of the map itself was dark, but it was only every area was only as dark as the entire map. But now we have zones, so when you go in specific dark area zone, it'll get darker. And it's another thing, if you look at your environment, there are going to be more environmental interactions to make your task easier. Like for example, if you follow this power cord, see all these nice lights here. So it goes down to this switch, and boom, now you have lights. That's just an example. There'll be a lot more things like that, and there'll also be some hidden things as well, in terms of secrets and things that you'll have to unlock with special doors. The ammo and stuff's back. That's temporary in terms of how fast it spawns. You're going to use the engineer for more of that. Alright, crystal. Same thing, pick your tool. Wolf's back. Bodies do eventually disappear. What's going to happen is they're going to show a deterioration animation. Right now they just disappear after a certain amount of time, and that's mostly to clean up the map visually, because in case they die on a crystal or something. But once you add that extra effect in there, it'll look pretty cool with the bodies dissolving and things like that. And this one is charging it up. Again, I've got a lot of the strong and average crystals, so it builds up quicker. If I was dealing with just weak crystals, it is going to come pretty close. And I still might hit the demonic awareness. But see, I'm level 10, so right now, when you get to a higher level, you'll be negating a bunch of these things, but there will be other risks for higher level players as well. Alright, and lesser demon, and it'll shoot down. And what's changed too, at least temporarily, is once we iron out more of the bosses, which currently we only have these 8. The other bosses are still there, we're just not implementing them yet because some of them are going through different changes. So don't fret there, there'll still be a ton more. There'll be at least 16 once after a few months of early access, and we continue. What we plan on doing is adding 1 or 2 bosses per each new level that we add. But essentially, simplified it to kind of what you need to do to kill the boss. And it looks like we're going to go against probably the Harvester. Yeah, he's a popular one. Alright, so it tells you a real quick picture of them. Their strong attacks, damage resistance. If you go to the Harvester, it'll cause deep wounds, slowing his victim. Well, in this case, it'll essentially stop you in your tracks. And 5213. That is the code. And we're working on some different ammunition ideas. We're gonna go with something like more of each boss has a specific one, and you need to find it to craft it. So 5213. Alright, now we got this nice little summoning animation. Pretty much summoning this dude from his hell area or whatnot, and he's gonna come in. We did rework the bosses. You'll see more of it when you play multiplayer, but originally we had issues with the boss. Was if 5 people were shooting at it, it would kind of get confused and want to target everybody who hit it, so it caused it to spin around. It was a mess, but now it's on an aggro timer, and we got that working pretty good. So everybody could be shooting it, but he's going to target the first person that he deemed a threat, and he will stick with that one for a good while. He will change once he decides to. And now look at the bottom, you'll see a little icon, a little square circle. He has stuck me in place, so I'm stopped. And I think it's a 30-second timer, and essentially it gives him the advantage to run in. There's 4 status effects that you can have. You can have bleed, which the vampire will do to you. The clown harbinger, he will poison you. This dude slows you. And the Wendigo will poison you. This dude will slow you, and the harbinger will slow you, and this dude stops you. Sorry, so many different ones here, which is good. We have a lot of different skills for him. This guy is mostly melee, and we're gonna continue to tweak things for him. Maybe even add like little groups of enemies with him, so he's not just because right now, if you back up, for the most part, you're gonna get less hits, but you still get some. And see, when he hits you hard. And while I'm running, I forgot to mention too, we did get a lot of feedback about the visions, the demonic vision and the holy vision. How a lot of people, again, they didn't read the tooltips and things, so they didn't know to turn it on and they needed to turn it off. So that's no longer an issue because instantly you have that class, the vision's on, so I can still see crystals because I'm the demonic class. So no longer do you have to worry about what you see. You'll automatically see it if you are that class. So and you don't. It's no longer an issue to turn off your vision. Before, it was, the longer you had it on, the more chance you had for creatures and things. But now that's changed. So, and nice old ragdoll physics. Shotgun is super slow now because it's super powerful. A little floating cape there. And so you can pick another level. This is temp. There's not gonna be much here but a picture, but if you're the host of the particular game, you pick another level with your team, and then continue playing with the same group of people, or you quit out and do something else. This is the level that's in the daylight, and this one has the occultist as its area effect, which I'll show you. This dude here, he has both magic and melee, and they are deadly with those things. I think I can shoot him, and they'll run too. This dude's gonna run. He's like, oh god, this guy's crazy, and then boom, he's dead. But yeah, so that was why there was a delay in the game being released and delay in videos. Get all this updated back to its current state. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna release this August 1st. We'll continue doing bug fixes up till then. Then hopefully when that happens, we'll get a lot of different feedback, so we continue implementing different systems in there, different levels. We have probably 20 more bosses that we're going to add, a lot more creatures and characters, definitely more levels. So if you like what you see, like the video, check out the Discord, put any comments, and thanks for taking a look.